We now have equal rights on the Constitution, but we didn't have that, and we didn't actually have equal rights either, of course. There was a strong tendency of equality, but not based on sex in 1814. It was because we abolished nobility in the Constitution, no future nobility, and we said there's a general conscription, even son of the count should do military service. So there was equality between men. But then the general suffrage for women, that was 1913, so it was 100 years ago last year. But there was some development on women's suffrage before that. So the wealthy women would have the right to it maybe 98 or something. Can't remember. They were sort of testing it. But there was one draft at the Constitutional Assembly which said that women should have the right to vote. But that wasn't even discussed. I think but there was an argument in favor of it. They said that women can run businesses. Typically a widow would continue the business. Why shouldn't she then be able also to point to who are the best men to govern us? That was the argument. But there's no trace of any discussion on that at all at the Oslo. And it may even be that it wasn't distributed to the whole assembly. We don't know that for sure. But we have the draft, and it's a clever draft, but it's sort of, okay, he can't really mean that, or whatever. That was written by a Danish nobleman, so he was not one of those taking part in the discussions.
Can I just follow up on that?
Please do. Please take the last one.
Some of the rationale that it was at least given afterwards for excluding women from the suffrage was the same rationale that was given for excluding most men from having the right to vote, that they didn't have and couldn't have independent property. And married women, of course, we did not have the same kind of property rights as men did in the early 19th century. So yes, it was exclusionary, and it took a while before demands for women's rights really took off. But after the dissolution of the dual monarchy with Sweden in 1905, it was really more or less a foregone conclusion that the franchise would be extended to women, and it happened in 1913. That was partly a consequence of the fact that the constitutional amendment process required an election to take place before the constitutional amendment could happen. So you could say, when Norway became independent of Sweden and the dual monarchy ended in 1905, that set in motion the process that led to first, well, actually, you already had full adult suffrage for men, but then first a qualified suffrage for wealthier women, and then finally 1913 full adult suffrage for women as well.
Well, in that sense, you beat us by 7 years. We ratified our 19th Amendment granting women suffrage in 1920, but it sounds like there was great similarity in the linkage of the suffrage to property and also in the exclusion of women from owning property, of course, in the 19th century.